Hello, my name is Bruce Brockman. You're about to view a video presentation of a presentation that I will be giving to the Northeast Ohio PC Club in July of 2019. We're going to be talking about computering. Computering as a verb, the ability to successfully interface with today's technology. Each person will have their own personal idea of what successful interfacing involves and means. This presentation reflects my personal views and my opinions. For me, successful interfacing is getting it to do what it is supposed to do and or what you want it to do. This presentation reflects my personal views on these. During the presentation, you're going to see stars in the upper right-hand part of the pages, and what that means is in the handout or the PDF that will be available online, you will find links to additional information about that particular topic, item, subject, download, whatever it is. In the PDF version, they are active links. So you just click on them and you will go there. How I learned computering in only 35 years with no formal training, or training of any kind for that matter. This is really a story of unfocused passion. Some tips and tricks I learned along the way. Technology visionaries know what we want even when we don't. That's Mr. Ford, for those of you that aren't familiar. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Well, do you know what I really want? I want much smaller but more comprehensive encyclopedia. Okay, that would be the internet. Mail, it gets there faster and cheaper. Email. Pictures without going to the store to get prints. Digital photos. Portable movies that I can take anywhere and watch anywhere that I want to. Digital movies. Adding machine that stores many multiple results. Well, that would have to be spreadsheets. Calendars that remind me without looking at them. Yep. Digital calendars. Typewriters that doesn't make spelling errors or grammatical errors. That would be spell check and Grammarly. There are other programs, but that's the one I use. Books that read to me. E-books. And they come in a variety of formats and will play on almost any piece of equipment that you might have. Easily searchable with an unlimited size address book that stores a lot of information, and you have digital address books. And phone booths everywhere. Well, voice over internet protocol and cell phones seem to solve that. And one machine that can do all of the above. Well, there are actually lots of them, but today, most everyone relies on a cell phone, which is a very powerful machine, can do all of these things and more, besides it's a telephone. Could you really be a geek down deep inside? The test. If it, computer, notebook, cell phone, tablet, even software, doesn't work right, I will take it somewhere and let them fix it, or teach me. That costs money. Call the manufacturer. Well, you may have to spend a while waiting on the phone to speak to someone, and then their English may not be easy to understand. But then you get a hold of a technical support engineer who says, I solve problems. Problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. So maybe the better thing to do is to throw it away or to sell it. But again, you're going to lose money doing that. You can ask someone if they can help you. unless you're asking our club, NEOPC, the people you may be asking may get tired of helping you. They have problems of their own. You might just destroy it. Remember, this is not a computer maintenance tool. It's a destruction tool. Or you could say, I'm going to fix it myself. Well, if you said that, you're on your way to geekhood. In the beginning, 1983 this was my first computer, TRS-80, model 200. And it even looks like a computer, sort of. You stored things on a tape recorder. Now, when you bought the tape recorder from Tandy, it said computer on the box. I don't know whether it was any different or not. They said it was more sophisticated. But that's where you stored your information. There were no hard drives, no thumb drives, nothing. You stored it on tape. And you'll notice over here it did have a port to plug in a phone. Now, there was no internet. There were a lot of bulletin boards and that type of thing, but there was no internet. And the modem speed was 300 baud. Baud means how many times it can change the signal in a second. It could change it 300 times, which basically means that it could send 300 bits per second. Spectrum now advertises that it can send 200 million bits per second, not bytes, but bits per second. Things have changed a lot since I started with computers in 1983. Remember, this is personal, and what it means to me may not be the same thing it means to you. Three things that serve you well as you go on your journey with technology, computers, cell phones, etc. Yet sometimes they're hard to come by. Patience is probably the most important thing that you could have when you're dealing with computers and technology. A man who's a master of patience is the master of everything else. Particularly in computing, patience is also a form of action. Waiting for it to reboot and download and all of those things, that's a form of action. Patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. How true that is. So, keep calm and don't hurt the computer. Have patience. Now, sometimes you might find yourself short on patience and you need to find a coping strategy. And this is a real thing. I actually own one. It's a rocks glass. It's handmade glass, and they put a little shelf in there for a cigar. It's amazing what that'll do for your patience. Persistence. To every problem, there is an answer. Just not always the one you're hoping for. And sometimes it is just because. That mystery thing, because. Which is always the last answer you find. You keep going and keep going until there is no other thing than it's just because. Keep calm and restart the computer. Several times, probably. You might also find you're short on persistence, so you may need a coping strategy there too. You also need passion. Passion for learning and knowing. Learn everything you can, anytime you can, from anyone you can. There will always come a time when you will be grateful you did. How true. Patience, persistence, passion. Create a successful relationship with technology. And with life, too. And then there is who, what, where, when, why, and how. Curiosity. Curiosity. There is always an answer. How much time and effort to find it is the question. That answer depends on your skills and a little bit of luck in most cases. Curiosity is what will make you a good geek. But you need patience, you need persistence, and you need passion in addition. You know you're on the track to geekhood if the answer is because, and then you ask, why because? Again, we're looking at my personal opinion on a lot of these things. Things to learn. Searching and finding skills. So, I did a search for how to search Google, and the results came back 11,350,000,000 hits. Searching and finding. How do you sift through 11 billion and find exactly what you want? Then again, I knew this one was going to turn up a lot, but your searches today turn up millions almost every time of hits. So you have to learn how to muddle through all of that. Searching and finding skills. This is a video, a 58-minute video that was done for the Northeast Ohio PC Club on searching the internet. It is available at the club's YouTube site, and on the sheet you'll find a link if you're so interested in hearing our thoughts on searching the internet. Searching and finding skills. The only ones born with this skill were born after 2012. I'm convinced of that. I've got grandchildren, and yes, they, even the young ones, just amazing. For us, it's another P skill, practice. That's how you're going to get, so it's not an all-day affair. A big help, and if you're not aware of Evernote, you should be aware of Evernote. Finding these things and then 2 weeks later saying, oh, where was that? I can't remember. Evernote is a free service that is available. If you use it properly, it's invaluable if you do a lot of searching for things. You can organize your own file system, and you can access it from anywhere. You can access the internet, and you can store things in it, web pages, your thoughts, documents, whatever you want to store in it, and it's all free. So if you're searching and you've got a lot of information that you know you're going to acquire, you want to look into Evernote if you have not. Read. It is well to read everything of something and something of everything. And here I'm showing you many books. This is one of my favorite places to get books. And they don't all have to be technical. They have technical books there also. They have more than 50,000 free ebooks. The big deal for many books is they have virtually all the different formats available. So it doesn't matter whether you're reading it on a computer, whether it's a Mac or a Windows machine. If you're reading it on a notebook, same thing. If you're reading it on a tablet, could be Android. Cell phone could be Android, could be not Windows anymore, but it could be Mac. So, lots of places that you can read and learn. And try to digest and retain. So, reading on the internet is an interesting thing. Everyone's heard of clickbait, and unfortunately we're all susceptible to it because we all have varied interests. And so you hear people talk about going down the rabbit hole, referring to Alice in Wonderland. And what they're referring to here is if you start researching a subject and you get on another subject and another subject and you just keep going and going and going because it's all very interesting and thrilling. That means you go too far down the internet rabbit hole, you're going to see a video of William Dafoe dancing naked. And I can't tell you how many times I've said, it can't be after 3 a.m., can it? You can really get carried away searching the internet. Once again, Evernote. Probably don't want to keep track of William Dafoe, but who knows what it is that you may run into that is just a one-off and you really want to keep it or have a reference to it someplace, and Evernote is the solution for that. Learn how to use the Windows File Explorer. It amazes me every time how many people don't know how to use it. And computers are such that that's one of their main features. So you need to learn how to create a file system that makes sense to you, and because it easily allows you to find what you're looking for. Pictures, anything that you create, how do you find it after you put it in the computer? And having a good file system is, and knowing how to put a file system together is a very important skill that will make using your computer much more pleasurable. Be able to find what you're looking for. So, once again, there is a video that was done on this subject. It was done for Windows XP, so obviously it's a little old, but the basic idea of file structure has not changed since they started putting things in cabinets and manila folders. Again, we're talking about my personal opinions here. What works for me may not work for you. Things that maybe could cost money. Frugality. And that is an important word because technology can be expensive today. And it really is not about price. It never has been, no matter what you're buying. It's about value. What it means to you, what it can do for you. It's not all about the price. Sometimes you need to pay more to get the value, what you're looking for out of whatever it is you're buying. And sometimes you're paying for a lot of things that you don't need, and that's not value. The most expensive is usually not the best value, obviously. Snob appeal is usually very expensive, and there is snob appeal in technology today. You desire to have the latest, greatest, whether you need it or not, whether you use it or not. You see that very often these days. If you don't think you can learn to use it, don't buy it. And the one that fits that the closest is iPhones. I know very few people that own iPhones that really use them with all the abilities that they have. They could probably have saved themselves several $100s and bought a phone that does everything that they're looking for a phone to do, as well as, but it doesn't say iPhone on it. Spend as much money on memory as you can afford. The reason I say that is because memory is becoming so inexpensive. The people that make programs and build equipment and whatever are very cavalier with the use of memory. And what seems to be overkill today, I have gigabytes of this and terabytes of that. Tomorrow may not be near enough. Don't know. So, always spend as much on memory as you can afford. If it breaks or gets old, think about fixing it or upgrading it. It's amazing how many people don't. They just give it away, throw it away, whatever. And usually technical things can be upgraded to some degree. Buy refurbished when it's available and there's a warranty on it and you know who you're buying it from. In most cases, they found the problem and fixed the problem. So I buy a lot of refurbished equipment these days, which in a lot of cases can be half of what you're going to pay for a non-refurbished same item. Make sure it has a warranty. If it has a warranty, the people who refurbished it are willing to stand behind what they've done to it. Use freeware and shareware when you can. A lot of people are opposed to this. If you really look into it and who is writing freeware and shareware, there's some awfully big companies that do it. And open source is becoming more prevalent in the world of computing today. But finally, do your homework. If you're thinking about buying something, do some research. Do a lot of research. Not just the price, but whether it's of value to you or not. Whether it does everything that you want it to do. Subscriptions. You don't buy anything anymore. You basically rent it on a monthly basis. $2.99 here and $6.99 there, and $5.08 here. The first thing you have to do is try it, and almost every one of these subscriptions will give you a free week, a free month, a free whatever. And really, if it doesn't make sense to you, don't subscribe. And you've already given them a credit card, probably. Make sure you cancel the ones you don't need or don't use, because the bill will go on and on and on. And they are bent on not letting you get out of this thing. So you need to be sure you understand how you can get out of these subscriptions if you get into them. Backup, backup, backup. I've said that forever to everyone I know. It may or may not make sense to you. The first time you need it, it will make more than sense to you. If you lose everything, it's traumatic, no doubt. And whether it's a lot or a little, it's still traumatic. There are two presentations on the Club YouTube site on backup. One's fairly old, from 14. One is fairly new, from 17. Principles have not changed. The methods have, based on operating systems. And an awful lot of it these days goes on the cloud, which I'm in favor of some things and other things not. But again, it's monthly costs and all of that. And memory, like I said, is so cheap today. To buy a external hard drive is probably the right solution, in addition to putting some things on the cloud, because you can reach those wherever you are in the world if you can get at the internet. So backup is extremely important, can get expensive if you have not created a backup, or you catch ransomware. And the solution in most cases is just pay the ransom. Anyhow, two videos you can watch if you are so inclined. Security, should you pay for it or use free security? And over the years, I have run paid, and basically VPN I pay for. And I paid for some ransomware when it first came out. There is free ransomware now that is as good as. So I don't see really paying for security. There are some free things that basically will do everything you can get from a paid-for version. In free versions, I've used AVG, I've used Avast, I've used Microsoft, I've used Acronis, which I still do, and I use Microsoft, I still do, I use AdWork Cleaner, I still do, CCleaner, and it's under security for a reason. Yes, it does just clean a lot of garbage out, but some of that garbage can cause you some problems. Spybot is a good piece of software, except you need version 1.6.2. Anything beyond that has got a ton of bloatware in it. You don't want that. Malwarebytes, yes, absolutely. Veracrypt, encrypting files, folders, separate hard drives, hidden hard drives, all kinds of things. If you have things that you need to keep private, well, then you need to look at a thing called Veracrypt, and it's quite flexible in what you can do with it. Clamwin is a very light-duty but very good antivirus program, and I use that basically with portable computing. Komodo is a company that does a variety of things in regards to security, and if you're going to get a email certificate so that your email is encrypted end-to-end, that's who you want to look at, and it's free. Probably the most important thing you could do for yourself, security-wise, is to use your computer as a user, not the administrator. And when you set the computer up originally, you're the administrator. And when you have administrative rights, that means that you can make changes to the computer, to the software. If you're a user, you have to enter a password in order to make changes. And in most cases, that'll alert you that something is going on. If you didn't decide you wanted to do something and it's asking for a password, it's probably a virus. So, doing that after you are the administrator and you've accumulated a lot of pictures and files and different things that you've stored in your computer under your name, when you want to change that from the administrator to a user without losing the ability to access all of that quickly, it's a little bit complicated, sort of. You just have to understand what the process is. Anyhow, this little short video will run that by you, and if you aren't running as a user, you should be. Voice over Internet Protocol, Skype. Skype was a big thing to me, personally. I was in Skype about the first year that they made it publicly available, and became vocal with the company. And I became part of a paid focus group that told Skype what was good, what was bad, where they should go, all of that. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, we would talk to the people in Luxembourg, which is where they were headquartered, and go through all of that. And it made good sense to me, and I started a company called You Are Never Too Old Technology Company, Yantotech. And Skype was the cornerstone that we took to senior centers, senior living facilities, where they could contact relatives anywhere in the world. And to see a 80-year-old's face light up talking to relatives in Europe that they hadn't seen in 40 years or more for their birthday was just amazing. And I really thought that every senior center in the country would be having Skype available, but it didn't happen that way. Anyhow, I still think VoIP is a great technology, and a lot of you are using Snapchat and other forms thereof. This was the founder of the whole thing, Skype, and still a viable thing today, although they are working under a company called Zoom now. Zoom is the largest in the world for this type of thing. And they have free accounts, and their claim to fame is that even with a free account, you can have up to 100 people at a time talking together. Now, my experience is when families, and you have big families, and they start talking together, nobody hears what anybody else is saying because they're all talking over each other. But anyhow, Zoom is an excellent, if you're using a lot of VoIP and you want to get a lot of people involved in the meeting, you can share desktops, and there's a whole lot of features to it, and it is free. So another thing that is always on my mind is printers. So I've gone through all of them. HP used to be my favorite, and then it was Canon, and now today it's Epson, which is the Seiko watch people. But anyhow, if you're going to buy a new printer, I would strongly suggest looking at it all in one. It can print, it can scan, it can copy, it can fax, do a lot of different things. So, I was looking at, for this presentation, just looking at an Epson all-in-one. And I found this one on Amazon, and it's got a reasonably good rating. And most people's ratings on printers is because it's not the printer's fault, it's they don't know how to use it. But anyhow, this one was $62.99, which is really inexpensive. So that's not, though, where I look at printers. I look at the ink, because that's what's expensive. So if you're going to replace just the original equipment ink in this printer, it's $127.99, twice as much as the printer. But it turns out they have remanufactured ink cartridges for this, and you can get 10 of them for $30.99, about $3 a piece, as opposed to $30 a piece. Now, again, I've been using remanufactured cartridges forever and ever, and I have some favorite brands. Easy Ink is not one of them, but this was the page I was looking at, and so it fit the presentation, and that's why it's here. There are other brands, and you'll see, and this has got a pretty good rating. Some of the remanufactured ratings are 1 star, 2 stars. This guy's got 4. That's pretty good. The whole trick here is do your homework. It's not a lot of money, but over the time you're going to own this printer, by the time, if you really use a printer, and I do, the ink is going to cost a lot more than the printer ever did. So do your homework. And that's with anything that you buy. 2 computers. Why would I suggest you have 2 computers? Well, if your computer goes blank, how are you going to look up how to fix it? So, my suggestion is, when it's time for a new computer and you don't know what to do with the old one, keep it. And for emergencies, you can always plug it in and do a little hunting and pecking and try and find out what's going on with your new shiny computer that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Use TVs as monitors. I don't have any monitors anymore. Well, I have a room full of them, actually, that I don't use. But every computer that I do use is connected to a television, not to a monitor. And, you know, most of the TVs today, they're talking 4K and whatever, so there's no loss in quality of the video that you're looking at. They're a lot less money, and you could use them as a television. Most of my monitors are either Roku's or Fire Sticks attached to them, so they function also as a television. External memory. Again, memory has become very, very inexpensive, and important things you want to store on external memory that is not connected all the time to your computer. If you happen to catch ransomware, indeed it can. Any memory that's attached to it, including the cloud, interestingly enough, in some cases, can be part of the ransomware. So when you back things up, you should have a backup that is not attached, not turned on when you're on your computer. Cloud storage. I wasn't a big fan. I am a big fan. It used to be really cheap. I got grandfathered in on some Google storage that was ridiculously cheap. They finally got me out of that. But anyhow, I keep certain things that I know I might need as I'm traveling somewhere else on the cloud, and you can always reach it. So, and you can encrypt it. There's a variety of ways to make sure that it's safe out there. Encrypted cloud storage can be fairly expensive these days. Do not be the first in line for anything technical. Wait till they get the bugs out. Portable computing. I got into this when I was working with the senior centers, and we wanted everybody to have their own computer and their own files and so on. But obviously a lot of them couldn't afford it, didn't want one, and so on. So we made thumb drives into computers. There is a program that you can put on a thumb drive that makes it look like it's a Windows computer when you plug it in and fire it up. And they have lots of programs available for it, and if you get into it deep enough, you actually can learn how to take any program and convert it into a portable program. I got really involved in that, and then I also got involved in why don't you like Apple? And I tried an Apple, and I thought it was cool, and I wound up with 4 Apple computers in a very short period of time. And I don't have any Apples anymore, and that's another story why. A motherboard went bad a day out of warranty, and they said good luck. And you look on the internet, and I was one of about 10,000 people that they said good luck to on the internet. So there were a lot more than that. Anyhow, thumb drives up to that point were either you plugged it into an Apple or you plugged it into a Windows machine. I founded a company and filed a patent for a thing I called X Double Tech Drive, and you could take this thing and plug it into either a Mac or a Windows computer. Your programs would be there, your information would be there, and you could work on it and save it. And if it was done on a Mac, you could walk down the street and plug it into a Windows machine, or vice versa. And it all went very well until my patent basically was stolen by a foreign country. So that's a part of my life I like to forget about. Today I have around the house gadgets. I have 4.5 Alexas. They control 7 switches in the house. I also have a Google Home that'll control those switches also. I try and get the two of them to compete on a regular basis. They don't. An Ecobee, which is actually a thermostat, but it does have a Alexa built into it that actually will talk to you and do all the things that an Alexa will do, as well as being a thermostat. Pretty complicated thing. Not sure that everybody is ready to go in that direction for themselves. They could have it installed, but it's a fairly complicated installation. Fire TVs and Fire Sticks, I have some of those. And Roku TVs and Roku boxes, I have some of those. And I have an UMA. UMA replaces your hardline telephone. It is VoIP. You buy an UMA box once. Today they're under $80. And you'll pay between $3 and $4 a month, depends on where you're at, location-wise, and that basically is taxes and access to the 911 system. But UMA, the phone, it hooks into your regular phone system. You then get rid of your phone system supplier, and it all goes through the internet. And the quality is every bit as good as anything you ever had, but you're at $4 a month and you can call anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. They have some prime programs that cost a little more money, but you really don't need that. It really is a very complete system, and it hooks into Alexa. So Alexa can answer your phone. You just say, Alexa, answer, and it'll answer the phone if it's ringing. Or Alexa, hang up if you know it's a solicitor, which I often do. But what this does is I've fallen and I can't get up syndrome. Can't reach the telephone. Well, all you do is ask Alexa to dial 911. Besides saving you a lot of money, it really is very handy. If you think you'd like, and you can port your home phone number into UMA. And it also can send faxes. So if you have a fax machine, which I told you should have an all-in-one, so you have a fax machine, you can send actual faxes through UMA. Wirelessly, actually. Okay, I told you the story on UMA, and it's a good one. As I've said before, this is very personal. What works for me may not work for you. But getting it to do what you want it to do, or it's supposed to do, is a goal that we all should have, because you paid for it. And maybe you didn't pay for it. This next section is mostly software, and it's mostly free. And again, there's two certain schools of thought. A lot of people think that freeware is not good. Certain freeware is not good. I'll agree with that. And certain freeware is better than what you can buy. And that's the truth, too. So, again, probably it's been about 20 years that I have been into just mostly freeware. The last big piece of expensive software I bought was an Adobe Suite. Paid about $1,200 for it, and the last piece of it went obsolete last year. They no longer support it. No longer works. Good luck. Anyhow, and I found substitutes for all the things I did with it free. So this is Acronis Ransomware. Acronis has been around a long time, very big company. They are putting this out for free, and it is excellent, excellent protection. If you don't have it, you should get it. The God mode. I debated as I put this together and talking about the God mode. When you install the God mode in your computer, in your Windows computer, it puts every function of adjusting Windows in one place. Things you didn't even know, but there are 237 functions that become available to you. There's a icon on your desktop. You click on that, and all these things are available to you. It's an interesting thing that most people are not aware of. Ninite, a good place to experiment with freeware. So, Ninite's been around a long time. They have a list. Currently, they say it's 92. I think it's more than that, but they say 92 pieces of software. And you pick out the ones that you want. You put little check marks in the boxes there, and they have browsers, and they have media things, and imaging things, and a variety of things. You put check marks there, and when you're all done, you click on Do It, or whatever it says, and it's a single file, and it will, you just don't do anything else, it will install all of those. They are absolutely bloatware free, they are virus free, they are everything free, all up to date, most current version of it, and it just does it all in the background for you, and it's done. And every time you run that file, it'll go out and look and see if there's anything new version of those things, and it'll install those. A lot of big companies use this service. It's a great service. The only paid-for version, and almost all of the freeware things have a paid-for version that do something else. The paid-for version here would be for system administrators, which we aren't even going to worry about. So, excellent thing, worth looking into. So, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that wouldn't consider using OpenOffice or LibreOffice, and there is a slight difference between the two, not much, because they use Microsoft Office. Worldwide, there are a lot more people using OpenOffice than there are Microsoft Office. And again, it's getting used to it. It almost looks the same, not quite. But it's free, and it's updated on a regular basis, and it really has more functionality, I think, than Microsoft Office. And I did buy several versions of Microsoft Office over the years a while ago. Firefox is actually the go-to browser today. In fact, the word is that Microsoft will be installing a version of Firefox and calling it Internet Explorer in the not-too-distant future. Almost all the technical things that they do are what is adopted by all the other browsers and Internet technical things. So, if you've never tried Firefox, it might be worth looking at. They have made it a little less personal than it used to be. They have a little more control than they used to. Thunderbird. I have used this as my email client forever. I have over 20 active email accounts, and I look at them all in one place. I open up Thunderbird, and it goes out and it gets all my mail for me, and it's easy to control. Google would like you to think it's not very secure. It's as secure as most things. Gmail actually will tell you that they are encrypted end-to-end, and that's semi-true if you're emailing from your Gmail account to another Gmail account. If you're really worried about email security, there are a couple other things that you should look at that work with Thunderbird. The other reason I like that is you can do a complete backup of Thunderbird, a single click. It's all in one file, in one place, and I have tens of thousands of emails. I don't get rid of anything because I back them up with this, so, but it's all in one single file. If you ever need it, you have to, when you run this backup, it runs it to the version of Thunderbird you have. So when I back it up, I also keep a copy of the Thunderbird install file, the execute file. This worked with all of the family of Mozilla, but a lot of it has been discontinued at this point. Sunbird's no longer allowed, Postbox, SeaMonkey. I think you can still use SeaMonkey, Spicebird, Netscape. Anyhow, things change. CD Burner XP. I just wish they'd change the name of it and get that XP out of there. CD Burner XP is the best burning program there is, period. End of story. They've updated it 4 times this year to keep up with Windows 10. It can do everything and do it easily, and dealing with ISO files is my favorite part of what they do. Even if you don't deal with ISO files, if you want to burn things, this is a great free application. So as you go further into geekhood, you may want to start doing some things with videos that you took, or videos that you capture from the internet, or whatever. This is the best free one I have found. They have many pay-for versions of this thing, and it's actually an Australian company. And I paid for some of their audio software at one point, which was the best there was. Anyhow, if you have a video and you want to convert it to a different format or a different size being physical byte size or the screen size, this is the program you want. It's very, very flexible and very easy to use. One of my favorites. But again, if you aren't doing anything with videos, you don't need it. But if you're doing something with photographs, this is one that you would want, for sure. I went directly from Adobe to Photofiltre 7, and it does almost as much. It does a lot more useful things for me. If you're not a professional photographer, you don't need to get, and you don't need Adobe either. You can get GIMP, which is every bit as good. Anyhow, this one is my favorite for manipulating photos, and more people should do that. I can't tell you how many photos I get that are megabytes. You don't need to send a megabyte photo. You know, I can probably condense it to under 1 meg and not have lost any quality or anything at all. So, one to look at. Videoland Corporation, been around forever. If you have a video and you need to play it, if you can't play the VLC, you can't play it. They play every format that there is. It's really an outstanding program, and they have it available for all the different formats. Windows and Linux and Android and Apple and whatever you want, they've got software for it. would like you to donate, and I do on a regular basis. So I use some freeware. I usually send them a couple bucks every so often. Debated on putting this one in or not. This used to be my favorite for creating slideshows. Windows 10 has rendered this virtually useless now. So if you're running Windows 10 1903, you don't want this anymore. It did a lot of things other than that, but it had a great slideshow program, and it doesn't anymore for the machines that I have that are running in 1903. So, if you do a lot of things that you use a lot of Avery forms and all of that, Avery has their own software that's free. And it's a lot better than what you get out of Outlook or OpenOffice or whatever. And so if you do a lot of it, then you just should go to Avery directly and get their free software. I just finished making a bunch of name tags for the class reunion I'm working on. DocuFreezer. So, many times I wanted to turn a PDF into a JPEG or a PNG, and I would use the Adobe Pro version I had. And I told you that they finally just gave it up and said, doesn't work anymore. Tough luck, buy a subscription from us. So I found this called DocuFreezer, and it is free. They do have a slight pay-for version. They watermark whatever they convert for you. But when you learn how to resize these things and whatever, you can take the watermark off if you need to. And again, this is when you send them a couple bucks if you use the program. There are quite a few zip. WinZip is probably what most of you use. 7-zip I found to be much more versatile than WinZip, and it's free. You know, if you zip a lot of files and whatever, this would be one you want to look at for sure. Download Helper. So, how many times have you seen a video on the internet and you'd like to have that video? But how do you grab it off of the internet? And in particular, like YouTube makes it very difficult to do. This is the program you need. And it's called Download Helper. And there's actually another small program you have to also download to go with this thing. But anyhow, it works in Chrome, and it works in Firefox, and it will work in Edge. Don't use Edge. They're going to be around much longer anyhow. So anyhow, it's just a single click, and it saves it. And it offers you a variety of ways that you can save, formats that you can save it in. And then once you have it, you can change it with that other program that I said does a lot of video work for me. Firefox Send. This is a brand new thing. And some of you probably have run into problems trying to send very large files somewhere that's over the limit. This one, it says send up to 1 gig without even signing in, or you can sign in and send up to 2.5 gig, which is a big file. And you can set the time when that file vanishes. It's just scrubbed from the internet. Useful piece of software if you need to transfer big files to someone else. Google Photos. I used to be a big Google fan. They're just too nosy anymore, but anyhow, this piece of software is really great. I can't tell you how many people I know that don't know how to get photos off of their cell phone. They can't take any more pictures until they delete some because they don't know how to get them off of there. Google Photos solves that problem very well, and it does some other things, amazing things, as far as searching your photos for you. It has such good facial recognition. It found baby pictures of my daughter. It found her as an adult, as a teenager, and as a baby. It knew they were all the same people. Almost frightening. Again, I talked to you about portable apps. You may or may not have use for it. If you get tired of carrying, lugging a notebook around and you have a place where you can plug in a thumb drive, you may be interested in portable apps. If you do, there's a program called App to Work, and you run this. This is the last thing you run with your thumb drive, and it erases all traces of you having been there. If you were on the internet, it removes any of the telltale files that you were there. It just scrubs everything that you have done. And we plug one of these thumb drives in. All you're using is the resources of the computer. You don't access hard drives or anything else. You're just accessing the resources of the computer. JD voicemail. I found this when I was doing work with the senior centers, and there are a lot of seniors that wanted to send email but weren't very good typing, but they sure could talk. So this program, and it's old, you can see they only went up to Vista, although it does work with Windows 10. You can record a voicemail. It makes extremely small files, unbelievably small WAV files. It pulls up a blank email to attach it to send it. All you do is fill in who it's going to, and there's a blurb on there that says this is a voicemail for you. Just click here and you will hear what it has to say. Interesting piece of software. TeamViewer, if you're going to help somebody or someone's going to help you with a problem on your computer, this allows you to either have your computer taken over or take over someone's computer. And it has a lot of safeguards built into it, so you don't have to worry about security. I've used this, version 6, I think, is where I started with it. They're on 14 now. I've used it a lot, and it's great. It also has VoIP in it, so you can see and hear the person you're talking to while you're working on their computer or they're working on yours. Zoom we talked about before. I'm a big fan of Zoom, and it's coming technology. Paracrypt. Again, this is for encrypting a file, a folder, a whole partition in a folder. It gets into plausible deniability, so if you're the bad guy wants to find out what's in your computer, you can give them the password and they can't see it. It's interesting. It's been around a long time. TrueCrypt was its predecessor, same group. Anyhow, if you're interested in encrypting files, hiding things, keeping things private, this is where you want to look. KeePass. There's a lot of different software to keep passwords. I've used this for a very long time, so that's why it always shows up for me. There are other ones. This one is not the most highly rated. I think it's second or third now. Works for me. But if you don't use one, please use one. I don't care which one you use one. Evernote. We talked about Evernote. This is what their home site looks like. Again, you can click on the link and take a further look at it. It really is, if you need it, it's great software. Email. Your main email should be from a permanent free email provider, not your ISP, Internet Service Provider. If you've ever had to change Internet Service Providers, which means you had to change your main email and send out all of the notifications to everybody that you're not using the same email anymore, and all your credit cards were attached to one, I mean, it's a nightmare. It's so much easier to have a free one from somebody. You use that for the rest of your life. Have several email addresses, and there are reasons you can have throwaways. Anyone that needs one to look at their website, you give them this one, or a variety of reasons that you would have different ones. If they're free and you have an email client, why not? It looks it all up for you. You don't have to go on the internet individually to pick up the mail. As I said, use an email client. Security on email. You can use a virtual private network, or you can get a certificate from Komodo, and that could be a whole presentation, so I'm not going to get into how it works. It's free. It works. You can go there and look at Komodo and see if that's what you want. Or you can go to Proton Mail. Forgot to put an N in here. It's Proton Mail. This here will give you a list of 11 of the best service providers, free ones, for this year. And here is Proton Mail. They're based out of Switzerland, and it is absolutely secure email. When you send something with this, it is absolutely secure, and it goes through Switzerland, actually, which makes it subject to Swiss law, which is a lot stricter than ours anyhow. It's free, and I've switched to using this for banking things. Keep calm and keep computering. The ability to successfully interface with today's technology, which is changing every day. And each person will have your own idea what successfully interfacing means and involves. This presentation has reflected mine. And I said earlier I didn't have any formal training. That's a little untrue. There's a thing called Linda. In most libraries, if you have a library card, you can get Linda for free. When Linda first came out, you couldn't get it free, and it was expensive. And I bought a course on website design, which I could have saved my money, I guess. I bought some what you see is what you get software, and I've been able to put up probably a dozen websites since. But Linda is available for free through most libraries. They have hundreds of courses on almost any subject you can think of, but they have a ton on computers. And they're very, very good. So, if you're into formal training on any subject, you may want to look into Linda. Remember that all of these things that I talked about in here, there are links so you can find out more if you want to. Either it's a pass out or you can get the PDF, which has the active links off our website. Questions? I know I still have many questions, and will continue to. Thank you for watching.